BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K.
All right, so this is BSing with Sean K. I'm your host, Sean Kneese. The K is silent. And on this show, I talk with people pursuing their creative and intellectual passions and living outside the box. And on this episode, I have Beatrice Sniper, and she does makeup effects and special effects too for a lot of horror movies. You do it for a lot of other, and you've worked on music videos as well. And you've worked with Trauma, right? You work with Trauma Films, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I've had Renata on the show who also she did makeup for
Yeah.
Trauma.
Yeah, we were on
So
the same set.
yeah, and so why don't you just I guess tell us more about yourself and how you got started with everything you're doing?
Well, originally I was going to school for computer animation and visual effects. I didn't really grow up watching film or interested in film. I grew up in like a very closed off community, so I didn't really watch a lot of TV or watch a lot of movies. And then when I was going to school, we were required to take an elective class. And the class I chose was called Introduction to Makeup for Film and TV. I thought that was an easy A, why not? So I took it out of curiosity, and then that kind of like redirected my life, and I really loved it, and it's just something I've been teaching myself ever since. It was like a very basic class. It was like cuts, bruises, old age, straight makeup. So it was like a really nice introduction that kind of like opened a whole new world to me, like a whole new world. But you know what? It's so fun, and it's one of those things that like you never stop learning because there's so many different techniques, there's so many things to know, every project is different, so it's always keeping you on your toes, and there's like a lot of science behind it, so it's like an art and a science, so it's really fun, honestly, just to kind of like be given these really cool challenges, and you have to kind of find your own technique and your own way how to achieve it. So, and it's cool because you get to be part of the film industry, so it's even more awesome.
Yeah, and that's interesting because usually people say like, "Oh, I watched this film and that inspired me," but you just kind of fell into it through the classes and like doing it. That's what
Yeah,
you
it
did.
was
Yeah,
very random. I wish I started earlier, but like because I started later, like now I'm slowly like watching all these films that I had to watch. Quarantine helped, uh, you know, and like just kind of learning everything about all these films. I'm like collecting all these articles, watching all these videos online, and just always learning, always finding different ways to do things, and it's a really cool world. It really is.
yeah. I'm still catching up on like movies from like the last 10 years or so, and I'm like
Yeah.
acting, and I mean I have some scripts I'm writing too, but I've done more like acting as far as work and like editing work, but like I'm still catching up on some of the ones of the past. I feel like I kind of fell behind like 2010s on, but
That's fine. I feel like they haven't been making any good horror movies recently. Like not too many, but like
yeah, The Lighthouse was pretty good though.
The
I don't know if you
Lighthouse
thought,
was great. I think that
yeah,
was more like a thriller.
yeah. I mean,
But you know,
it was kind of David Lynch. Like I don't know if you've seen David Lynch. Yeah,
yeah. I felt like Hereditary was one of the biggest good horror movies recently. I think it was just very like different, and I like that
oh
one a
yeah. I
lot.
still haven't seen that one. I've heard good things.
You
Yeah,
gotta watch it.
yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, and she did some other. Oh yeah, Midsummer was the other one.
Yeah,
They did. He
which
did.
was similar, but like Hereditary was I think it was the better one. Midsummer was great, but it was like I like the Hereditary a lot better.
Yeah. So I guess horror movies is more like your thing. Did that, and it became that later on as you did the work, like because you saw what went
Honestly,
into it, or
horror movies, sci-fi. I like sci-fi a lot, but at the same time, there's also like if the movie has like a good script, I'll be into it. Sometimes it's not even always horror or sci-fi. Sometimes it's like making someone bald balder, older, fatter, so it's like
Yeah.
sicker, so it could be a bunch of different effects, like sometimes it'll be like skin diseases, so it doesn't necessarily always fall under horror.
And that's good because it's like less limitations. Like if you find that an actor is good for a role, like you don't have to like, but they're a little young or they're a little like whatever, like then you can make them look more the part still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's honestly like what I love about my job is that there's a lot of different options that like, to discuss. Everything is always based on budget, quality, and just like how good it is and how
Yeah,
fast.
like they did with the Penguin, the Colin Farrell and the Penguin with the Batman.
Yeah,
Actually, they
yeah,
made him into
exactly.
yeah. So what's
Yeah.
been like the funnest set you've worked on?
I don't like that question because it's like there's a lot of really fun projects, and then there's like the makeup jobs versus like the kind of set that we are. So like sometimes the people really make it so worthwhile, and sometimes the location is just so amazing and incredible. And then sometimes the storyline is really cool, or like the effects are awesome. So everything has a lot of different variants, but it's like every project has its own like beauty to it, and like so many memories are created from each like project because like you're among so many creative people and they're all just artists, and in the industry, and it's kind of cool to be on set working with so many talented people. It's great.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like having to pick one over the other
It's
thing.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because honestly, like I get a lot of really weird jobs and I love it. It's so cool. So there's a lot of really, really interesting stories and people, and yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and I feel that way. People will ask like, "Oh, what was your favorite podcast you did?" Because I've done like 100 something of them.
Yeah,
There's been a lot of
it's like
interest.
asking what your favorite horror movie is. You can't. It's an unfair question.
Yeah, I do like the original Nosferatu though with the
Oh
vampire
yeah,
and the yeah
that's a classic. That's a good one.
yeah. I also liked well I used to watch like a lot of like campier movies. It was a movie, The Driller Killer. They used to be
Oh, I
one
heard
of
of
the
it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah with Abel Ferreira. It was just kind of like a punk movie. I don't know. It was like a punk record movie. Was kind of cool about it. Um,
yeah.
yeah, and I still see it referenced every once in a while. I see like those obscure movies referenced in like more popular things, and it's like, oh, I get that. It's like,
Yeah, that stuff is like our history. It's where we came from, It's I always love it when they throw references in there.
yeah. And so, have you like? I guess what was it like getting started, and like, have you learned anything from when you started from then till now, or
Oh my God, I've come a long way. I mean, when you first start out, and I think this is just a generic thing in the film industry, you start off doing a lot of free work. And then once you get the hang of things and you feel a little bit more confident and you know like where you fall into place in the film industry, you can start slowly charging and working your way up to get in there. But honestly, a lot of it is networking, a lot of it is practicing, like you never stop. A lot of it can be discouraging and it can make you like want to get like stress you out sometimes, but at the end of the day like you're just really happy with what you do and you're always learning something new. There's so much that I have yet to learn, and just when I thought that like I know a lot, there's so much I don't know. And that's the cool thing about like special effects artists is that there is no right or wrong way to go about it. You can put like 10 incredibly talented special effects artists in one room and tell them, here, make me a zombie, and then they're all going to do it differently, or make me a cut, make me a burn. Everyone's going to do it differently. It's just a matter of like technique and result, and that's the cool part, is that there is no right or wrong way. It's just how it comes out, which is cool. It's the interpretation, which is awesome.
yeah? And do you find that as you get your name out there more, like then people start like if they're looking for a specific thing, they'll reach out to you because you have a unique style with what you do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I try to keep my standards high and my so that way my, at least to me, my work looks decent. But a lot of my jobs are through word of mouth, like the referrals through word of mouth, and just always hustling and trying to keep getting jobs out there. But a lot of it is networking. So if people enjoy your presence, your atmosphere on set, and you do good work and you show up on time and you have proper set etiquette, and nowadays little asterisk, you're COVID safe, so as long as you keep showing up, you'll get those jobs, which is fun. There's
Yeah,
a
and
lot out there.
yeah, and I've heard that said like with actors too. Like there's some like they're a good actor, but they're not fun to work with or whatever. So they might pick someone who's not as good of an actor because they'd rather
Well,
work
it's
with this
true.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also like, in the old school, they like artists, like, artists usually have to make like 100 pieces in order for one to get recognized, and then eventually, like, you know what I mean? So it's like you just gotta keep working, gotta keep doing, gotta keep moving up, and just doing what you love, because that's the only thing that you understand.
Yeah. Is there still stuff you applied from like when you studied it, or is it more like stuff you learned on the different jobs? Or...
I'm always learning more. Like, like recently I was just on a job this weekend, and I was working with like other makeup artists, and like even like on set, and I'm working with other makeup artists. I'm always like peeking over, looking how they pack their kit, seeing how, like, if I can get any ideas of how to improve how I pack my kit, or like what colors they use, so that way I can be like, oh, this is interesting. I've never used it before. I'm gonna look into it. Or it's like, I love talking like shop talk with different artists. So it's like, again, I'm always learning something new. There's always new products being released constantly. So it's always new things that I want to try. And then again, although I've done so much different kinds of makeups, there's also so much that I haven't done yet that I really want to try. And of course, it starts off with makeup, but then you start doing like sculpting, molding, casting, airbrushing, body painting, you do carpentry, you do like, and then before you know it, you're doing like hair work, costuming, fabrication, gags. So it's not just like appliances, it's like more than that, so it's like a little umbrella, so there's a lot of responsibilities that fall under special effects makeup artist. I wish we had a whole separate name, because that stuff is not the first thing you think of when you say makeup artist.
Yeah, well, I think that's common though on like film sets. Like a lot of times it helps if you don't just know one thing. But it seems like not everybody, most people don't just do one thing. Like most actors, like they'll direct something, or they'll like, I don't know. It seems like people like they kind of put their hand in different things on it a bit.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, I see that, and I feel like that's necessary nowadays, in just to survive, especially in New York nowadays. You have to have like multiple jobs
Yeah, and
constantly.
if you want to stay in the industry, like doing work that you're excited about, you kind of got to be flexible with like what you doing it too. Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
so.
exactly.
And when you said that there were different like things you didn't try yet with the makeup, did you mean like you wanted to make like an extraterrestrial and you never got to do that, or got to
Oh
make like...
no, oh no. There's first of all, there's a lot. I have like 8,782 projects or something that I want to do, and like, there's always things that I want to create and make, but time and money is always not on my side. But every single time I do get to make my own projects, like when it's quiet time for me, like usually during the winter time, for example, no one wants to shoot a movie, so it's a little bit quiet, so I have more time to work on whatever I want to work on. Or if there's a convention, I want to create my own character, my own monster, my own creature, so I go extra all out, and I'll create the costume, I'll create some armor, I'll create like a headpiece, I'll create like some props for him to hold. So it goes a little bit more beyond what initially you thought you're gonna do.
Like,
So it makes things more I don't know, it keeps me on my toes.
oh, you mean like the chiller, like the horror conventions, like
Yep,
the... Yeah,
yep,
because
yep.
I've been to those a while. Yeah, I do remember people dressed up. I guess like similar to like college Comic Con, or and like how people dress up for that too. But yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a convention in Cali that happens once per year, and then there's like a smaller convention. But anyway, and it's more like it's called Monster Palooza, and that's where all of the horror people come in, but a lot very very oriented towards like special effects mostly, and you get to meet and talk with all of the really cool artists, and everyone's always doing these really cool makeups, and it's like you get to see the makeup museum, like all the really cool stuff that people made, and it's like there's so much talent in like in this world, and there's so much that we have to learn and do, you know what I mean? It's just so cool to be around people like that.
Yeah, I think is that similar? Is that like part of Monster Mania? Because that was something I went to a while ago.
Monster Mania, I feel like is more directed towards like independent films and
Okay.
like horror collectors, whereas this is more like special effects heavy. So it's like people go in there to buy a special effects makeup, and like you will see a lot of really cool props, like really cool. I don't like it's a really different kind of convention. It's
So it's
more
like convention for people who work in it, kind of.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's like they make props, they make like it's really cool convention. But it's like a dark art convention in a weird
Oh,
way.
nice. Yeah, and so you have been working on your own. So you also worked on stuff with like, did you work on stuff with Patrick, who I interviewed, Patrick Devani, or you just?
Yeah, I've turned him into a character before. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it,
Oh,
but
okay.
but I have his head in my studio.
Okay.
So yeah, I worked with him several times. He's such a pleasure to work with, and he's one of the people that like I really I get inspired from, because like there's so much passion behind that filmmaking, and just like that magical feeling of just creating art. You know, it's addicting to be around people like that. You know, people that are passionate about what they do. You know, it's hard to come by, but once you're like in that kind of mindset, it makes like I guess everything so much more worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just have to like get into things. Like even when I did like background work, I meet like a lot of interesting people, and like people I interviewed on the show and stuff. Is just kind of like getting into that. It's like,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
so cool hearing everybody's stories, and like even when you're on set on your downtime, you can like talk to people and hear everything, like where they come from, how they got into this. Like I was just on set, and like these people, it was just like I whenever I'm talking, like whenever they sit down in my makeup chair, it's like my time to talk to them. So I try to like kind of like you know, talk to them, like help them relax a little bit, have them like talk about themselves. So like these people were like a bunch of wrestlers, like professional wrestlers. And one dude goes, yeah, I'm like cousins with The Rock. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, like he used to babysit me. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And he would tell me like all these stories about how they grew up, or like different sets they were on with like different movies. And it's just like, I love hearing everyone's stories of like what brought them here.
Yeah, that's been my experience. Like on like the sets I've worked on, like that's always been like the cool, like one of the coolest things. It's like it's the project you're working on is neat too, and it's cool to see like the end result. But it's also like, you know, while you're there, like all the people you meet and everything. It's yeah, the experience of it.
Yeah, because it's like everyone at that set has been like affected by film in one way or to another, to the point where they're involved in it, you know? And it's so cool that like, you know, art brings so many cool individuals together.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so, what the projects you did do, like, did you get any done, like any films you were making, or?
What do you mean?
Oh, because you said you were working on like your own projects too.
Oh yeah, I do a lot of my own like my own independent work. So like I have my own studio space. So like sometimes when it's quiet, I'll reach out to different models and stuff, and I say like who wants to get painted up or makeup, and then they come over. I do their regular makeup, like beauty makeup. I take a picture of them, and then I do their whatever I want to do. So like body painting, or like any special effects, anything I wanted to try. And then I take photos of them. I also do photography, and I have like different backdrops. So it's like I would take professional looking photos of them. So that way it's like my own way of building up my portfolio. And at the same time, kind of like challenging myself and just creating more creatures and monsters and characters because it's fun.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to do it. Is kind of like do your own work, and then it builds up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So it's like either you find opportunity or you make opportunities, you know, and if there's any way to just do what I love, even if like even if it's just doing it for fun to build up my resume, why not, you know? Gives me
yeah,
something to do.
yeah, exactly. Well, I think anybody who gets into this, like you got to enjoy it, like without the
Oh, you
before
have
too,
to,
yeah.
because film industry is not easy. I'm sure you understand. It's
Yeah.
not easy. It can be very, very stressful. Not just for you, but for people around you, or the location, or like some vibes sometimes don't click. It can be really, really stressful. The working hours are crazy. The conditions are intense, but it's like at the end of the day, if you go home, you go to sleep, and the next day you wake up and you're like, that was fun. Let's do it again. Then
Yeah.
you're set. You're set.
Yeah. It's just kind of like a feeling like, oh, like this feels right to do. This is like what I want to do. Like, yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're
Yeah.
happy, and you're proud of what you do, and that's something that not everyone can say.
Yeah. And so like you made your own creatures. Do you have like that sounds like that could be interesting. So did you make like their like names to like what kind of species they are? Like make like kind of like I don't know, because I'm thinking of like a minotaur or something like that. You can make like your own kind of creature. I don't know. There's a lot of neat things you can do with that kind of.
Oh no, 1,000%. I'm
Yeah.
usually working towards like whatever the client wants me to do. I don't like naming my characters, or unless the client names them, because
Yeah.
I just tend to like make a bunch of work, and I feel like if I name it, I'll get attached to it, but I'm not allowed to get attached to my work, because my work is literally, I paint it on and I take it off, so it's like it doesn't
Yeah.
stay. So I can't get too attached to it. All I can do is just kind of like do what I'm doing, enjoy the process, trust the process, and just learn from the mistakes that I see that no one else sees.
Yeah. And what has been like the biggest, I guess, challenge, I guess, with your work? Like,
Honestly, like again, it really depends on the set, because every project can sometimes be very, very challenging. But I think it's like the addiction to leveling up, just trying to find out the answers, doing the research. I think that's where I get my high from, just trying to find the answers and like testing it out. And then at the end of the day, when you like completed the challenge, you can be like, damn, like now I know how to do this. Now I can say I did. And like I feel like a lot of my projects have really like, because a lot of my work is based on deadlines, it has really pushed me to grow and challenge myself to, add more skills to my criteria. I guess.
nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So like leveling up in
Oh yeah,
the
like
RPG.
absolutely. Like this one dude asked me, "Hey, can you make me 2 costumes in 5 days?" I'm like, I probably won't sleep, but I'll by the time of next week, I'll learn how to use a sewing machine and I have 2 costumes done. So it's fun. And plus we live in an age right now where we have information readily available at our fingertips. So it's like you can either sit there on YouTube and you can either watch endless cat videos, or you can watch a whole bunch of DIY videos and learn a couple of things. So it's based on how you choose to spend that time.
And did you ever have to like balance like doing that with like a day job, or like did you ever?
Yes and no. Like right now I have a current day job, but it falls under what I do. It's like a molding and casting job. So we make a whole bunch of different props, specifically in this case guns. So we mold the gun and then we cast it so that way it can be used as a prop and everyone can be on set safely. So sometimes I do that, and then there are other times I'll be like a technician at another store or so. I mostly freelance. Like even in this job, I'm still freelancing, but my gigs are always my top priority.
Yeah, and well, that way I guess you stay in the same realm, like even with the
Yeah,
yeah.
like with this job, they usually call me in for like a week or two. So, sometimes I will have random jobs like that. But I'm always finding ways to keep myself busy.
Right. And so what do you think of like, do you think like practical effects like now more CGI is being used, or do you think that kind of is like taking away some of that in some ways, or?
That's a really good question, considering because I did go to school for CGI, and when I was in school and I was able to see how much it's getting used to the point where most of us don't even know that it's CGI. It's crazy how fast technology is going. But I think it has its pros and cons. There is a lot of movies where they're working, hand in hand. Like you'll see like an exploded face and then the makeup will look amazing and then like half the face will be green, because we're working hand in hand, we're gonna CGI it out, but like it's makeup and the CGI, or like they'll bring a makeup artist on set to do like track marks, so that way they can do motion tracking, or like, they recently let out an article on the Prosthetics magazine with Josh Turry, who's an amazing special effects artist, and he talks about how he was able to 3D print molds, and he's able to use that for casting certain prosthetics, which is incredible. How it's a whole new world, and I think we can learn from each other to work together, and it's giving us more options of different ways how to solve certain problems. However, you can do it like really poorly, because I'm sure we've seen a lot of really bad CGI done, and then we can also, I think it really depends on the director, the producer, the look that they want, of whether they want a CGI character or if they don't. But I feel like a lot of independent movies love the practical effects because they like interacting with the creature and stuff. And I think it's a different kind of experience than CGI, than like interacting with like a man in a green suit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's more like you're in the scene while you're working.
Yeah. It's a different feeling, it's a different experience.
Well, I always thought there was like more of a there was more of like a DIY, like creative kind of aspect to, but I guess with like CGI it is too. But I don't know. I always like the idea of practical effects like a bit more kind of.
Oh, me too. Me too. And you could see the details of it, and the things that you create. It's like it's a part of history, man. You can't that's our film history.
Yeah.
Can't deny that.
Yeah. Well, because
Like,
I think what were we gonna say?
I was like, if you do like a CGI movie, like what props do you get to keep from that? It's all on the computer. It's not physical anymore.
Well, the experience like isn't as fun like the green screen. But the only thing that I kind of, because I'm interested in voice acting. I've done like a couple things, like small things, but like is like the motion capture thing looks kind of fun though. Like you're like acting at it, and then they put you in the game. You're the character in the game, and yeah.
Yeah,
That looks kind of
motion capture is such a cool thing. Like I love it. It's really cool. Again, the technology is advancing so fast. I feel like within the past 10, 15, 20 years, we had like a technological revolution where like so many things advanced and developed, and I can only imagine where we're gonna be in like another 10 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like especially like even bringing back like actors that die, like in Star Wars, like recently bringing back like Mark Hamill didn't die, but they made it like the young Mark Hamill in the scene.
Yeah.
Like it made it look like he was there.
Yeah.
Pretty neat. Yeah.
It's pretty neat. And like all the camera tricks that people can do, it's really cool.
Yeah. So I guess where's like your goal of like, do you have like a goal of like where you one day want to be with everything, or?
I think my goal is always to be happy. I don't know if this is like, if I'm going to be doing this in 5 years or in 10 years, but right now it's something that I enjoy, and I love it. It's always something that like keeps me motivated and keeps me busy, and yeah, I mean, I like where it's going so far. If I ever choose to change it, I'm sure I'll figure it out along the way. But in the meantime, I'm going with the flow. It's helping me. I mean, it's my career. It's what I enjoy doing. It's what part of what I am now.
Nice. And do you have like other creative things you do as well, like on the set, or is this like your main?
Yeah, I do a lot. So I took up. I have like artistic ADD where I just want everything. So like I recently bought like a tattoo machine, so now I can tattoo and stuff. And then photography, I do photography as well. And then I during quarantine I took up like making jewelry, playing with resin. I do resin paintings now. I do like interior design. Like this is not a wallpaper. I painted this.
Oh yeah, I was thinking. I noticed like the wallpaper in the back, the purple and black. Like I had kind of like a neat.
Yeah, I painted it.
Oh, nice. So you made your own like wallpaper in the room? Or?
Yeah. No, I just painted the wall.
Oh wow. And it looks like wallpaper too.
I know it does. It does. And then it's like my
and then you got like Frankenstein portrait, and then you got a couple other things. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, this is artwork from Chet Zar. So he's a really cool dark artist.
Nice.
but I like decorating my place too. So it's fun. I just always find different projects that I like to do. So
Nice.
I'm always finding ways to keep busy.
Nice. And I think I was gonna. Oh yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, like I know what you mean. Like an artist ADD, like wanting to do like everything at once. Because like
Yeah.
I have like a lot of outlets too and stuff. Like past few years, I've learned how to narrow it down and like kind of focus on one and stuff. And then sometimes there's just something you're driven to do. Like with this podcast, I feel like driven to like do it. Like I feel like I don't know. It's just something I need. Like or with this script I'm working on. Like I feel like that's something I need to do. Like sometimes it's just like intuitive with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what separates like real artists from like other people, is the fact that like people need to like blink and they need to breathe and they need to eat. But like with artists, we need to create. So it's like if you put us on an island somewhere in the middle of nowhere, we're gonna find a way to create stuff. And like somehow we need to do it in order to stay sane. So so I feel like you understand that, because like, it's like I need to do this, otherwise I don't know what would happen to my mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, and Charles Bukowski had kind of like a thing he wrote about writing that was kind of like that. Like that kind of applies to other outlets too. It's like the one thing he wrote, like, oh, you want to be a writer, he's like either like it finds you, like something about like it finds you, it's like you need to, it was like a similar thing we are saying like to this, but it was like if the so you want to be a writer, it's called. But
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I started looking into like making my own movie, and I started like buying a bunch of books so I can read into it, because again, I didn't go to film school, but I'm learning everything I need to know on set. So it's like it's interesting, because it's like as soon as you're in this field long enough, you start wanting to create your own imaginary film sets and your imaginary stories, and you're just always wondering, I wouldn't do that on my film set,
Yeah.
or like, yeah, I'd hire her for like a role I have in mind. Like, so you start like taking mental notes everywhere you go.
Yeah, that's what some people were telling me while they were doing background, like every day, like mental notes. Like you can see what did I learn today, and like you can learn
Exactly.
about shooting a film just by watching them and everything. So
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing. You learn something new every day.
exactly. And any final thoughts or anything like maybe we didn't cover? Or...
I don't know. There's a very vague question because there's a lot we didn't cover.
Oh, let's go. We can go into the lots if there's like a lot of if there's interest. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you had any questions that could help me direct in the right answer or discussion.
Well, anything else you want to say about your work? Like maybe to like, well, we went into like what you like the basics of like what you do with the work, but like, well, and we went into like how you make the creatures and everything. What got you interested in creatures?
You know what? I really like creatures so much. I like things that are unusual. Like I really love The Thing,
Oh
Um
yeah, yeah,
the makeup effects in that are so cool and amazing. And just seeing that, oh, it's so cool. Just I don't know. But like I that's my favorite. I feel like with the horror stuff, like with gore, it's so easy to hide things with blood, which could be a good thing, if depending on how you want to shoot it. But I personally love the creatures because I feel there's more you can do, more colors you can play with, more patterns. You can play with the silhouettes. You can create horns. You can create wings. You can create like the costume. You can, I don't know. I think there's more, and it's harder to hide things with blood because there is no blood. So you have to make it look good. And
yeah,
and then once everything is put together, your character just slowly comes to life after you start applying all the pieces one by one. And it's a cool feeling, like what's in your head and what's in real life. You just kind of made a child almost. And in a weird way, that's what art is. You're making something out of nothing. It's like your children, it's what's gonna stay in this world after you're gone. It's your little your footprint in the world.
yeah. And do you ever find like it's sometimes it's hard to pinpoint like what exactly inspired it? It's just like it kind of comes.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
inspired by so many things. That's
yeah,
why it's really important for me to like like feed my focus and work on my surroundings. Like even with social media, everyone has their own relationship with social media. People don't know how to handle it, especially nowadays. Some people don't want anything to do with it, but it's like I'm always trying to narrow my focus. Like I don't like following friends that post selfies or post what they ate today. I will only follow people that like post art and post things that I want to do, like post special effects makeup. So therefore, when I do log on to Instagram and I'm scrolling, all I see is art, 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 art. So that way I'm always staying focused, and that's the beauty about social media, is that you can mute people if you want to.
Yeah.
So
You don't want it to become a distraction, like.
Yeah,
What you're saying.
yeah, it's so easy for it to become a distraction, and it's like I fall victim. Well, I do that. I'm guilty of it too, as in everybody nowadays. But if there's any way to just kind of like to narrow it down a little bit, and just so that way you're more cautious of what you're spending your time on and where your focus is, it'll help a lot.
Yeah, and use it for good instead, like.
Yeah, always finding ways to stay inspired and like save other people's work for references in the future. I'm always looking at like different references. I'm always like staring at old people. I love the way that their wrinkles go. There's so much you can learn by just kind of like saving all of these references. I save makeups. I save like different molding techniques. So I have folders and folders and folders of just different things I save. And I don't think we had that privilege. I don't think our parents or our grandparents before that had that privilege as we do now. So I think it's like one of the ways to make the best of it if you want to keep moving forward and stay motivated.
Yeah. And I guess, did that become tedious, like finding like different things to go, like at first, was it like tedious at first, like find all the different like things you need to buy to make the different projects? Or
you know what? Not really, because once you're coming across a lot of artwork, you just start saving one by one, and you just kind of categorize them a little bit, and it just keeps growing and growing every day. So it's not like I'm done adding to it. I'm always going to be adding stuff to it. And I even like run another page on Facebook called Inspire Me. So I just post like really cool artwork, just to kind of keep people motivated and to keep people like moving forward and like encouraged to like make cool stuff, because I know sometimes like it's really hard to stay motivated in this industry. But if there's anything that we can do to help each other out, always good to do that.
yeah, because sometimes it's like you don't see the rewards right away and everything, like we were saying.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so easy to get discouraged, like especially as an artist, you're always beating yourself up, like if you're ever good enough. So it's like at the end of the day, just keep making art. Worst comes to worst, the worst they could do is suck. But every bad artist makes art. Just keep making art.
Yeah.
Nothing can stop you.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always going to be ones like you don't feel too good about, or maybe, but it's like at least you're doing it, even if
Yeah,
you make something.
exactly. And like, don't they say, like, I was listening to a podcast about screenwriting, and they were saying just like sit down every day and like focus 7 minutes a day on just writing. Just start off minimum 7 minutes. It can turn into a half hour. It can stay 7 minutes, but at the same time, you're not forcing, but like, what's that word? You're disciplining yourself to create habits that are going to be helping you in the future. And that's really important if you want to be successful, is consistency.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting with writing though, because like sometimes like I don't know, the story kind of writes itself. I feel like you have the characters, like I don't know, like when I was working on the script, like certain like things came together. I'm like, oh, this was like I didn't even know that story like was there. It's like it had a life of its own kind of. But I'm sure it's that way with like other things too. But yeah.
No, sometimes stories do that to you, and it's cool.
Yeah.
it can push you to like to think a certain way, and it's really awesome.
Yeah. All right. And you well, you said there's a lot we didn't cover, so now you kind of challenged me. Now I gotta like see what else there is to uncover.
Okay.
All right. So I guess I don't know. Like just I guess like where can people keep updated or? Well, I
With
mean that's
my
not really
work or-
that's more like wrapping up kind of stuff, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I mean, if anybody wants to check out my work, it's beatricesniper.com. Or if my Instagram is BEA Sniper, or as I like to say, be a sniper, be a sniper. Yeah, and that's. I mean, I feel like that's the best nowadays. Is the best way to contact me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a good name for like horror. It's a Beatrice Sniper. So like
Yeah,
sniper,
that's my real name. I
yeah.
didn't change it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just put Sean K as like Sean Kneese. Like I feel like it doesn't look like it's Niece. So like Sean K is like catchier, but it's still Sean Kneese, but
Hey,
Sean K.
whatever works, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and is there anybody that like that you have a dream to work with? That'd be an interesting thing to
Well, obviously, I would love to work with like the major people in the industry. I won't want to work with the big boys in Hollywood, but who doesn't, you know? But honestly, I eventually would love to start my own company and just like create kick-ass effects. I can
Nice.
curse, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I just leave like the curses and stuff in, so it's good.
Okay, great.
Yeah. It's BS bullshitting with Sean Kneese. So.
There you go. That
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, that seems to be like, and a lot of people want to go that route, you know, like kind of their own business. Like I want to make this like a podcast network and stuff too. So we'll see.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And it's like nowadays, like most of the people in the special effects industry are like, I don't know, men. And I guess
Yeah.
there can be a lot of sexism in the industry as well. So, but slowly, like girls are slowly walking their way into the special effects industry. So, I mean, I think it would be cool because, like, I know I applied to some places and, you know, and they didn't really take me in because being a female, they expect me to only do beauty makeup, but I don't do beauty makeup. I know how, but I don't take on those jobs. So it's funny because people automatically assume that I when I say makeup artist, you know, I do beauty, but I don't. But at the same time, it has lost me a couple of jobs because of that. So it's frustrating, but you know, working my way to changing that. And that's
Yeah,
why I would love to have a company that just like supports all kinds of any gender as long as you're good and you're
nice.
a human being.
Yeah, and actually, I was thinking that because I would think horror especially would have like a lot of sexism in it, like just because like some of a lot of the movies is like the the woman running around and being chased, and well, at least slasher movies are like that. I never really been a big slasher guy, but I
Same.
like yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, if I had to pick between gore and like monsters, it'd be monsters because
Yeah.
I feel like gore is a lot of slasher. You know, which again, I love both worlds. I like that I can change it up. But I really love creature design.
Well, I like the old like Peter Jackson, like the first films he did, like Dead Alive and what was it, Bad Taste he did with like the
Yeah,
aliens and like
yeah,
like that kind of
anything
fun
that
stuff. Yeah.
anything that Clive Barker made.
Oh
is
yeah,
awesome.
Hellraiser. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Hellraiser.
Yeah. And you mentioned John Carpenter. He's like more sci-fi, but I'm a big John Carpenter fan too.
Oh, John Carpenter is
Yeah.
amazing.
They Live, I think is They Live and Escape from New York are like two of my favorite books.
I did a body paint of the characters from They Live. It's so funny.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Like
It's
Roddy
cool.
Piper or like the alien face.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Nice.
whatever. The pop zombie, the blue.
Yeah. So any final thoughts or things you'd like to say?
I can't think of anything. You're putting me on the spot.
Okay.
I mean, is this for like a film audience or
It kind of goes like in a different, like people with different creative outlets. It's been a wide range, but I have like a certain style I do. So I mean, there's a lot of filmmakers who listen. So there's creative people with different creative passions. It's
I got you. I mean, in
yeah.
that case, I think the only thing I can say, basically, only thing I can say is never stop creating. Just keep doing you. That's it. That's the only way. Or as Dory says it, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Nice. Yeah, and yeah, that's a good final thought. Well, and then you put me on the spot earlier with the like there's so much we haven't covered. So
It's true. And
yeah.
I could sit here and like talk about all kinds of really awesome things like nonstop. But I'm sure you can too.
Yeah,
There's
that's
so
why I
much-
like those are the episodes I like the most, where it goes into different kind of crazy stuff. So
Yeah, for sure. I can tell.
yeah, but yeah, well, it was nice to oh, I dropped the thing. It was nice to meet you and all that, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you have a lovely day.
You too. And if you want to keep updated with future BSing with Sean K, I'm on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts. And that's about it for this episode. I'll catch you on the next one.
BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing